Welcome back everyone to another video, and today it's the final video for now in the 4-video series on how to improve at Hearthstone. And this time I'm just going to give you a few general small pieces of advice, like some tips how to get better. I tried to order them a little bit based on like whether you do them before the game, after the game, during the game. But in general, it's nearly unrelated, and it's also mainly unrelated to the other videos, although I would recommend you watch them if you want to improve at Hearthstone. So I have 10 tips here. Let's start with number one. Number one is to pick a deck which is proven to be good. Of course, if you don't want to do this, like you are free to homebrew your own decks, like play whatever you want, but this really like lets you improve a lot and a lot quicker than many of the other pieces of advice I could give you. So if you're really serious about improving and like seeing how far you can get and where you can push, then pick like a top tier deck, which you probably won't come up with yourself, at least not if there's already some meta that has been established. So after like 2 or 3 days of playing, usually most decks, like after an expansion, 2 or 3 days after, most decks will be discovered. So where can you find them? Well, you can there's several resources. You can, for example, look on HS Replay. You have some, in the free version you have less filter options here than I currently have. And then you can pick one deck that you would like to play. Advice number 2, stick with that deck, and if you must, pick a second one. But first of all, try and play quite a bit with that one deck, because constantly switching between decks lets you not understand what the deck is trying to do, lets you not understand what matchups you do. You need to get some experience with the deck before you can really see any improvement. And if you're switching around decks because you got countered 2 games in a row by an unfavorable matchup, then you're never gonna learn any deck well enough to really play well. And then it also doesn't matter in the long run whether you get countered or not. That should cancel out roughly if you're playing a meta deck. And so my advice would be pick one deck. If that's too boring to you, pick 2 decks and try and stick with those for playing so that you can actually learn them. If you play a lot, like there's people who are playing this game like on average 5 hours a day, then of course they are not playing only 2 decks. Like if you watch a stream, chances are the person is playing more than 2 decks in that meta. But that's because they play so much that they have enough time on each individual deck to actually learn it to a very high level as well. So third piece of advice, also referring to the deck you play, is know your deck and what you're trying to do. So for example, let's say you go for this fishing priest deck because you like it. Look at the cards before you even start a game and try to figure out what kind of style this deck plays. As you can see here, it's pretty obvious. Like most cards are very cheap. You take quite a bit of damage. You have some burst damage yourself. This is like a very aggressive deck, which requires some board control though, because it has these buffs if you have stuff on board, like this one and the jug. So you're probably gonna try and build a board and then like buff the board, and at some point go face and convert this board advantage that you hopefully got by that point into a win. Convert that into face damage, and then maybe you have like a little bit of burst to finish off the game. So really know what kind of role you're playing, because it's kind of never the case that both decks are the aggressor in a matchup. Like there's these situations where there's a race, like who gets the other one to 0 first. But the most common like kind of matchup in Hearthstone is like one deck tries to survive and the other deck tries to kill the opponent. And this can sometimes switch during the game, but this is already on quite a high level that you recognize that. So I would consider like just on a more general level, what is the deck trying to do. You can also check here, like on HSV Play, you could, for example, check the matchups. This might also give you like some hints on what you want to do. Maybe. I'm also not saying you have to find your deck on HSV Plays. There's other resources. For example, there's a meta report from Vicious Syndicate, which usually has like some deck recommendations as well. And there's other sites where you can find those. Okay, rule number 4. I already mentioned it in another video, but I think it's quite important, so I'm going to mention it here again. If in doubt, go for the high tempo plays, or in general try to go for high tempo plays. So try to spend your mana, try to go for the strongest play now rather than in 3 turns, and try to do value trades, so that, because value trades create tempo for yourself, or they create a bigger board for you than your opponent. Usually tempo is king in Hearthstone. The person with higher tempo, depending on the like decks or the deck type that is being played, will win. And really I would recommend always going for tempo first, and as you get better, slowly start like considering other stuff to do. But if you are like a real beginner, just go for the highest tempo play every turn, and then as you get better, slowly integrate other thoughts into your process, like trying to go for more value from your cards, etc. Along those lines, also advice number 5 is don't play around everything your opponent can do. Like, you might know that like a certain deck has something like a board clear the next turn. Don't immediately jump to the conclusion that you shouldn't play anything on board because they might clear your board. Always first consider your own game plan, and if your game plan is you need the board to win and you can grab it, then do it. And then if he has the board clear, that's bad for you, but otherwise you don't even give yourself a chance often to win the game. Like if you don't develop the board, but your game plan has to be I need the board to win, then you already lost. Advice number 6, I guess, and this is the most important piece of advice, I would say, maybe with advice number 7 together, is take your time. Like a Hearthstone turn has a decent amount of time. I don't actually know what it is. It's like a minute 15 seconds, a minute and a half, something like that. Really use your time. I mean, don't just sit there and like let the rope burn down. That's not the point. but take your time to think about everything regarding the game that comes to your mind. Obviously, like, the more productive your thoughts, the better. So I gave like an entire video on like what the different levels of thought are that you should put in and in what order. But really, don't just autopilot. Don't just see a play, do it, and like hope it's the best. Consider every option you have, basically, until like you don't run out of time. Then you have to make a play. But really take the time you need to think about the options you have. This is important because it will make your plays a lot better, so it will immediately improve your gameplay. Like, if you have different options of plays in that turn, in a given turn, and you slow down and you consider all of them, your gameplay will immediately improve over if you just made the obvious play that you saw directly. But also, what it will allow you is to see where you made a mistake, if you made a mistake. Because oftentimes, once you start autopiloting, you don't actually recognize that you do misplays. Because you don't take the time, you don't remember what actually happened in the game. You don't look at it and you don't see what went wrong. You just think, oh, I got so unlucky here because this or that could have happened. But you haven't even like thought about like what you would have liked to happen. And generally, like, this taking your time will both improve you immediately and it will improve you in the long run, because you will like notice your own mistakes and you can fix your own mistakes and you can learn and you can improve. Advice number 7, have fun. This is as important as taking your time. It's arguably way more important. Like, if you don't have fun, maybe don't play the game at that moment. Like, I'm assuming you're not making a living from this or anything, so you don't really need to play it. Like, just if you don't have fun, don't play it, and if you play it, try and have fun. This also brings me to number 8, which is really important, and that is to take a break before tilting. If you notice you're losing games, and like you lost the game because something ridiculous happened, your opponent got really lucky, you got really unlucky, whatever, and then you play another game and you lose that as well, and then you're starting to tilt and you start to go on autopilot, you stop taking your time, etc. Take a break. There's no point in playing on, because your plays will get worse, you will lose more games, and your mood will get worse as well. So if you are beginning to tilt, stop playing. Or this is an alternative: if you are somewhat resilient, I guess you can try and see or take a different perspective on the game. Like, if you notice, oh, I lost like 3 unlucky games in a row, you can try and say, okay, but maybe losses are not that bad for me right now. What can I learn from these games? And if you can avoid tilt another way, fine. If you want to play on. But otherwise, playing on tilt is never really a good idea. That brings me to point 9, which is to think about your game after the game. With this, I mean, especially if you lose a game, also if you win a game, but especially if you lose a game, think back, try and remember like what happened in that game and where there were big choices to be made in that game and how they could have affected the games. This could mean that like you will see, oh, I made a misplay there. It could also mean that you had a big choice and you made the right choice, and then it kind of confirms, not 100%, because like other things could have happened as well, always in Hearthstone, but it might confirm that it was actually a good play. And for this, it's also really important that you take your time. So that goes back to point number 6. Because if you don't take your time, you probably won't remember nearly as much about the game you just played, and you will have less to learn from it. If you watch my regular videos on this channel, sometimes you see me like thinking about the game out loud after I played it and while I'm queuing for the next one. This is, I would say, the minimum you should do as well. I create videos here, so while I don't take like 5 or 10 minutes after a game to think about it, because then like you would see all of that, or I would have to edit it out. I guess I could do that, but I don't really want to showcase this usually in my videos. So I'm not taking longer breaks after a game to think about the game and what went wrong or what went right. But even I take like at least the queue time for the next game to consider what went wrong, and usually also the end of the previous game, because people like are really slow in like recognizing Lisa often, and then I can already think about what went on in the game. But don't let it affect the previous game. So if you haven't lost it yet, don't think about it, but once you've lost the game, you can start thinking about what went wrong, what went right, what were your options. Final piece of advice is to watch videos. I mean, you can also read articles, but I guess most people don't care enough about Hearthstone to read articles on how to improve at it, which I think is perfectly fine. It's a game after all. But if you want to improve, watching videos is also quite a good way of doing it. The way I would recommend doing it is you watch the video, and if you really want to improve, you pause the video when it's a new turn and you think, what would I do? And then you hit play on the video and you see what the person actually does. So if you watch one of my videos where I'm playing, if there's a new turn, you can pause the video and think, what would you do? And then hit play, and then I do a play. Obviously, it's not 100% of the time that my play is correct. Not playing perfectly, no one does. But that if you do the same plays as me, you should get to the same ranks as me. So you should get to like top 10 legend. And I guess for most of you, that would be an amazing rank to reach. If you are already in the top 10 legends, then what are you doing watching my video? So watching videos is a good way of learning, and it's also not as it doesn't create a bad mood. If I lose, like, what do you care, right? So I get really unlucky. You can just sit there and I don't know, giggle from Schadenfreude. So it's a more relaxing way of improving at the game in some sense. So these were my 10 pieces of advice. There's more. There's lots of videos like these with like individual small pieces of advice. And I hope this could help you. if you liked the video, I would appreciate a like, or if you could subscribe to my channel. That helps me grow the channel, which motivates me to make videos like these. I actually created the entire series shortly before I went on holiday, and just so that there was some video that could be published while I was on holiday. And this is effort I put in because I want to help you improve at Hearthstone. Next video I will be back from holiday, and I don't know what that will be then, but it will probably be some normal gameplay on ranked, and I'm as excited as you are to see what rank I will actually be in that video. So if that sounds like something you want to see, I have lots of gameplay videos on my channel, and I would also be very happy to see you for the next one.